Hello, everyone. I'm Zhao, and welcome to the first ever podcast of the Huddle. And basically, on this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything sports. And today, I'm joined with my other host,
Eric Ye. What's up, everybody?
And today, we're just going to be diving into the new NFL Top 100 and also going over the recent NFL news that has been released.
We're looking at stuff that's happened relatively, present. We don't want to bring you such old news. So I guess first off is Jamal Adams leaves the New York Jets and joins the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, first react. Okay. Sorry, Eric. Honestly, I think the New York Jets are one of the most... Don't get me wrong here. Their franchise is so dysfunctional. Like, Jamal Adams, this man deserves to get paid.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He is, in my opinion, a top 3 safety in the league. If you just watch the film and you look, he's so good at identifying running schemes. He attacks the right gaps. In coverage, he plays in the box, so he does allow a couple catches, but his tackling is so good it basically makes up for his mistakes at times. And also, if you look at his stats last year, he had like 7 sacks.
7 sacks, yeah. 7 sacks. He had 60 solo tackles too, man. This guy, he is definitely
like he's
the
the most versatile player, maybe the most versatile player in the whole league. I don't want to say that right now, but like at least he's top 3.
Up there. Yeah,
he's definitely up there. But also at the same time, the Jets, they kind of won this trade in my opinion. Who do you think won this trade?
That's true. I mean, if you look at what the Seahawks had to give up, the Seahawks gave a lot of things for Jamal Adams. I mean, I know that Coach Pete Carroll said that, he's trying to find the successor for Earl Thomas, everything. And Jamal Adams might be it, but they gave up a lot of early picks. I think a lot of second rounders in the upcoming drafts.
But I think they gave up 2 first rounders, and at the same time, the Jets got Bradley McDougal. First of all, his name is amazing, McDougal. But like at the same time, he's not some kind of throwaway player. He's not a practice squad type player. If you actually watch the games last year, Bradley McDougal might have been the best safety on the Seahawks, and he's definitely starter caliber.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. The Seahawks gave away a 2021 third-round pick and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, so they basically broke the bank.
Picks.
They broke the bank for Jamal Adams here.
I mean, I remember when Jamal Adams said that he wanted, to be traded from the Jets. I remember the Ravens were up there, and I kind of got a little excited because I thought the backfield with Earl Thomas.
I knew that wasn't going to happen. That was because if you think about it, Eric, I know both of us are huge Ravens fans.
Yes,
if you think about it, we just signed Chuck Clark to a 3-year, $15 million deal.
True. Chuck Clark did play really well last year too.
And Chuck Clark is the one who calls the plays on the Ravens defense. He has the green dot on his helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't understand why Eric DeCosta would trade for Jamal Adams because first of all, we don't have enough cap space. We still have to sign Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley to maybe a record-breaking deal. I mean, he certainly has an argument for that. And then also at the same time, we have to sign Lamar in a couple years. So, and after that Patrick Mahomes $500 million contract,
man, that guy got paid.
We really, really have to conserve the cap space, and I don't think it's possible to trade for Jamal and then maintain the championship caliber team we have right now.
True, that's true. But if for some scenario there was, admit it, it would be an amazing backfield if you had Earl Thomas and Jamal Adams as safety.
That's true. All right, so I want to speaking of new contracts and such, I want to talk about Joey Bosa getting his 5-year, $135 million deal.
Oof, man, that extension. Bro, hold on. I remember back a couple drafts ago, maybe 2 years. Weren't the Ravens trying to get Joey Bosa, and the Chargers literally stepped right in front of us?
I think that did happen. I mean, they held the 4th overall pick at the time. Honestly, thinking back on it, I didn't expect Joey Bosa to go that early in the draft. I mean, I knew during that time we were either gonna go defensive back, offensive lineman, or defensive end.
That's true. I mean, looking at Joey Bosa definitely deserves that contract extension. Last year, he had close to 12 sacks, and he averages double-digit sacks every year of his career, except for 2018.
Okay, here's a question for you. Who do you think is better, Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa?
Ooh, That's a tough one, man, because Nick Bosa did really well last year with the Niners, and they went to the Super Bowl and everything.
Here's my honest opinion about it. I would think Joey Bosa is. I would take Joey Bosa to start a franchise over Nick Bosa any day.
Probably. Yeah, probably because for me, it's because Nick, that was only his first season as a rookie, even though he did really well. Joey has somewhat of experience, 3 years over his brother.
Okay, but both Bosa brothers are literally made of glass. Like, they get injured. They get injured pretty much by just being touched by maybe a big running back, Derrick Henry, perhaps. And but I would say Joey, at least, part of the Bosa brothers, is the better pass rusher, and he also defends the run extremely well. Well, Nick, he was injured a lot last year. He was getting banged up. He was only out like one game at a time, maybe only during the game. But I wouldn't risk having that injury concern. And I know that Joey Bosa has an injury history, like a massive injury history.
Yeah.
But I feel like this Chargers team needs him on the defensive line. Because if you think about it, Melvin Ingram's getting old.
For sure.
He's already 31, maybe even 32. And then you have a giant gap at defensive tackle. Who did they select last year? LJ Collier that's the Seahawks selected LJ Collier. But at defensive tackle, they literally have no one there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Joey is one of those players who, if he can stay healthy, he can do a lot of damage, and his stats speak for himself.
The numbers speak for itself. So, more numbers coming your way now. LaShawn McCoy signed a 1-year, $1 million contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're going to the Super Bowl, Philip. I can feel it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're the Browns this year. It's either them or the Broncos.
I think the Broncos will probably be the more Browns. I think for the first time in a long time, the NFC South is going to have somewhat of a competition. Somewhat.
Okay, but LaShawn McCoy, in my opinion, like, if you watched him on the Chiefs last year, first of all, he has terrible ball security. He holds it in one hand.
I know, man. I'm always like, man, a cornerback just got to go on there, slightly swat that thing, and it's out. Fumble.
Exactly. And then, second of all, he's 32 now. He's getting old, and running backs, honestly, I don't value them that much, simply because their durability is a concern, and then also they have short-term success. But long-term, running backs typically don't do well, and that's why I wouldn't draft a running back until, let's per se, the second or third round.
Well, I feel like running backs get like beat to us because, once they're handed the ball, you have 11 players on the defense gunning after that player. It's not like, a quarterback, once he has the ball, you have like the front four on the line, maybe a blitz from the corner. But the running backs, they get a lot of action. Once they get the ball, everyone's going after the running back.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing before we talk about the NFL Top 100, which is our main focus of this episode, I want to talk about that hideous George Kittle tattoo.
Hideous? You think it's hideous?
I think he's gonna. Okay. Imagine this: 50 years down the line, after you had a long, nice career in the NFL, you earn your millions, you show out in public, a 70-year-old man, but you have a halo tattoo all over both of your arms. How would you feel about that? You would regret it. You'll be like, shit, I shouldn't have gotten that.
I don't know, man. I guess my first reaction looking at it, I was like, the famous was Mark Ingram. Look at the details. I thought it looked pretty sick. The details. That's not bad, but yeah, maybe in the future I might regret it. In present time, I think it looks pretty cool.
I love George Kittle, by the way, but
oh yeah, man.
My guy, that tattoo was. It's not it, Chief.
It's not it, Chief.
So now we're gonna move on to the NFL Top 100, and
yep.
Here, I have some questions for you, Eric.
Let
me gun them at you.
I'm ready.
Who do you think are, just name a couple of the most disrespected players on this list this year?
Disrespected, like, do you mean like snubbed, or like they should have moved up higher in rankings? So what do you mean by disrespected?
Like they should have been moved to a higher ranking or been snubbed. You could choose either.
All right, so I'm gonna go with snub first, and who I think gets snubbed, and I think who gets snubbed every single year.
Mhm.
I just think he's disrespected. Julian Edelman, wide receiver for New England Patriots.
Eh,
That
eh.
guy, if you see him, he plays with this heart out, man. Every time he gets the ball, the yards after the catch, he is running full steam. When he goes head to head with a linebacker, he lowers his shoulder. He's ready to knock out the defender trying to get him. He always plays. He never takes the easy way out. Oh, I'm gonna, slowly fall down and run to the sideline. No, he goes head on. That
You're,
he
you're
is
talking about
committed player.
you're talking about him knocking on defenders, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but when he was playing the Ravens, we knocked out the ball from him.
That's true. That's true. But if you see the commitment, he always tries going head on. He always tries.
I
He's
wouldn't.
trying to
I,
bulldoze.
I would say Julian Edelman. He might have been snubbed other years, but definitely this year, I feel like he didn't deserve to make the top 100. Simply because, if you think about it, the Patriots' offense this year regressed a lot. I mean, this past year regressed a lot.
That's true. I mean, but he had a 1,000-yard season though.
Julian, okay, but think about this. Who else was in the wide receiver room that could have taken more yards away from him?
True.
Those stats are probably inflated. Also, sorry, my dog's barking in the background. But those stats are probably inflated, by a giant ton. It's kind of like how, you remember the 2015 season, the season that basically everyone on the Ravens were injured?
Oh yeah, true. I remember that.
Kamar
Rough
Aiken.
year.
Kamar Aiken looked like a franchise player. And he's now out of the league. So it's because there's no one else in the receiver room, and that's why we went out and got Prashad Perriman. But actually, that was 2014. But you see what I'm talking about? The stats can be inflated by a lot. It depends on the scheme, the wide receiver room, the amount of weapons Brady had, which was little to none. Gronkowski retired last year. I mean, he was out. He's back now.
Yeah, he's coming back now.
He's back now. But Gronkowski was out. He had DeCoste, someone like that at tight end. He had Julian Edelman and then N'Keal Harry, who was out for the first 8 games of the season and who finished with 190 yards. So I don't think he deserved to make the list. But the biggest snub for me, in my opinion, this year, actually I have a couple. But one that I was extremely angered about was Lavonte David at 100. He barely made the list.
No, man, I was surprised his name first. I was like, what? First?
This man, he gets disrespect. He's a top 3 linebacker in the NFL. If I were to rank him, he would be after... Who would be he at? Huddle. He'll be after... If I were to rank him, he would be after Bobby Wagner. And then, I don't know, maybe another great linebacker on this list. But he's one of the best cover linebackers in the league. And he can also rush the quarterback. He can blitz. He's smart. He calls the plays on the Buccaneers defense. Honestly, if the Buccaneers are making the Super Bowl this year, it's because of Lavonte David.
Yeah. That man last year racked up 79 solo tackles. Oof.
And he's at 100. Every year, he continuously gets disrespected. I don't even think he was on the list last year.
Let's check that.
We'll check that later. But
Let's check that.
here's the thing. Lavonte David is not getting the recognition he deserves simply because he's playing in a small market, which is Tampa Bay.
That's true. Maybe that would be one of the reasons.
And another hugely disrespect. I don't even know if that's proper grammar. Another person who's disrespected on this list, in my opinion, has to be my guy Marlon Humphrey.
That's true. Let me see. Where do you rank again?
He's 86.
86. That is pretty high.
They said, based on the NFL Top 100, they said that Marcus Peters was better than Marlon Humphrey. Now, I'm a Ravens fan. I love Marcus Peters. He basically saved our season last year. But is he really better than Marlon? No. They also ranked Jalen Ramsey higher than Marlon Humphrey. Jalen Ramsey got one interception last year, and he struggled with the Rams.
He did. He really did. The Rams really fell last season.
So this whole list is just, in my opinion, it's just hot garbage. They rank Logan Ryan higher than him as well. Marshawn Lattimore.
That's true. Marlon Humphrey looks like he should probably move up.
So, Eric.
Well, in my opinion, I think another player that should be moving up is Ravens offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley.
They disrespected the Ravens so much this past year.
I mean, we got a lot on the list more than usual, but you're right. We should definitely be higher up in rankings.
I feel like we're biased though, but I'm gonna try to pull out a person who's on another team because I don't want to talk about the Ravens this whole podcast. We're about everything sports. We're not just focusing on our hometown team.
That's true.
So, I would say that first of all, Stephon Diggs was disrespected on this list. I mean, people might say, "Oh, he's worse than Adam Thielen. Oh, he's a number 2 receiver."
He's definitely not a number 2 receiver. Excuse me.
Think about it. He's ranked 54th on this list. He's ranked behind. Let me take a look. Jadeveon Clowney, who doesn't even have a job. Alvin Kamara, fantasy bust. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's an above-average quarterback. I love Jimmy G, but
yeah,
he's not as good as Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs had a huge impact on the Vikings offense last year.
Oh, for sure.
I think PFF ranked him as the most efficient deep ball threat in the league.
I think that him being on the Bills is going to be really helpful, especially with Tom Brady out of New England. There's definitely going to be a new winner this year in the AFC East. I just think, with Josh Allen, I feel like he's getting better every year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, last year in the playoffs, he did have that one luckily slip up, but he was running against the Texans, and he tried lateraling the ball for some absurd reason and almost cost them the game. That was just the most absurd thing ever. But I feel like he's getting better each season. His arm strength is getting there, and now with a threat like Stephon Diggs on the team, I think the Bills are going to win the AFC East.
They're my favorites too. Honestly, I feel like if we're talking about the AFC East, my bad, right now, I would say the Bills are going to win it, and the Miami Dolphins are going to be kind of a bust this year, simply because I don't think they have the system in place yet. But in a few years, they'll be great. I like the direction they're going.
The Miami Dolphins were a bust this season too.
I mean, they won 5 games, which was actually surprising, in my opinion.
Well, you know why they won 5 games. Towards the end, they literally just started having fun. I mean, that kicker to punter or punter to kicker pass, they just started pulling out everything out of the bag, man, up the sleeve. And, hey, trick plays. That's how they started winning.
I still really like Brian Flores as a coach, though.
Yeah.
So do you think... let's shift over to another topic. Who do you think on this list was overrated?
Overrated. Overrated. It's a good question. I'm going through the list right now. I'll tell you one thing. I was surprised. Well, kind of not surprised, but a lot of the top quarterbacks in the past, like Breeze, Brady, and Rodgers, they're out of the top 10. And you just don't usually see that in all the past years, Those quarterbacks, those top-notch elite quarterbacks, they're in the top 10. And this year, they're out of it. But at the same time, they had some of their struggles a little bit. Overrated. I think Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley?
I don't know. Maybe it's because the Rams overall were just very so-so. They had such a great season 2 years ago when they got to Super Bowl 53. I was like, dang, Los Angeles, Sean McVay is doing stuff there. They come back out this year, and it's like, what? This is not the Rams.
I mean, I'm not going to brag or anything, but last year I kind of knew the Rams were going to fall off.
Oh, you did you?
The last half of the 2018 season, if you think about it, the Rams, Jared Goff in general, struggled. He was being carried by the defense and the offensive scheme. And this year, it really exposed his flaws. The offensive scheme was figured out by defenses, and then his overall overarching flaws were just absolutely destroyed. Now, I agree with you with Todd Gurley. He's ranked above Chris Jones and DeForest Buckner. If I had to choose who would win in a one-on-one battle, DeForest Buckner or Chris Jones versus Todd Gurley, I would say Chris Jones or DeForest Buckner any day of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
But I would say one of the most overrated players on this list, in my opinion, to say the least, is Tom Brady.
Tom Brady the GOAT?
First of all, I love Tom Brady as a guy.
Yeah, I agree, man. Hate him or love him, you can't deny what he's done for the Patriots, how he turned it around, the Super Bowls he has.
He's undoubtedly one of the greatest, at least one of the greatest of all time. But Tom Brady this past year was, I would say, above average at best. And considering, you could argue that, oh wow, Tom Brady has 6 rings. Oh my god, Tom Brady, he's the winniest, I don't even know if that's a word, winniest player of all time. But the NFL Top 100 is talking about the previous season, not a career overall. And I don't think Tom Brady had a season to warrant himself number 14 on the list.
That's true. I didn't think about that. I mean, it's got to be with the age thing, right? What is he? He's 42, 43. That man, I can't believe he's still in the league. He for sure definitely wants to get one more ring just to be sole number one, past the Patriots, past the Steelers. Tom Brady, am number one with the most Super Bowl rings. That's why he left the Patriots, man. Because if he wins again with the Patriots, he's tied with someone again. He wants to be sole number one.
That is true. It's purely for his legacy.
Looking at his stats, I actually agree with you. His completion percentage dropped 5% from 2018. I mean, he got the 4,000 again, but he attempted a lot more passing yards. He attempted a lot more passes this season, and I do think he is losing the arm strength.
I don't think he's gonna fit in that Tampa Bay offense. If you think about it, Jameis Winston last year, the people were like, "Oh, you're sleeping on him. He's starter caliber." He threw 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, maybe 30 interceptions too. But Jameis Winston's arm is huge, and in Bruce Arians' offense, it's a vertical threat. Basically, it's all about deep routes or taking advantage of deep coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's true.
I don't think Tom Brady would fit in that offense. They have Chris Evans, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. Yeah, they have those 2 receivers. They have a washed-up Gronk back, but I don't think Brady's arm is good enough for that.
Well, we'll see this season how the Buccaneers do.
And finally, to close us off, I would like to point out the perfect rankings on this list. Who do you think was perfectly ranked on this list?
Oof. That's a hard one. Nah, come on, let's be honest. It's Lamar Jackson. Come on, get out of here.
I feel like you're biased.
What?
I would say, honestly, I have a feeling that Russell Wilson should have been 1, and then Lamar should have been 2.
Really?
I know I said it was about
Wilson over Jackson.
I know I was saying like this previous season, such like that. But honestly, I feel like Wilson is harder to game plan against. He didn't have as good of a supporting cast as Jackson did.
Maybe. But, you look at what Jackson's done so far right now, no defense has been able to figure him out, and we're hoping that for next season, us being Ravens fans. But Jackson has proven himself with his arm too this year. He has worked so hard.
I would like to point out that he still struggles on outside throws.
A little bit, but come on, it's so much improvement from 2018. I remember when Lamar Jackson first started passing, right? He would have all of his passes would be like floaters, and it would get me so nervous every time he passed. I'm like, no, don't pick it off. A quarterback's gonna jump in front of the ball right now. I got so worried every time he threw the ball.
I feel you. I feel that.
I mean, I'll admit, I was a Lamar Jackson doubter, or not doubter, but like I've been a Ravens fan for a long time, right? So like I was on the whole ride with Joe Flacco and how he won the Super Bowl for us. So like I was with Flacco, and I was like, come on, we can't replace Flacco.
I was so fed up with Flacco at one point that I was like, can we just bring Tyrod Taylor back?
Yeah, towards the end, But I don't know. For at first I was like, nah, hold on to Flacco, man. Look what he's done for us. And then you could see he was losing. He's like, okay, it's time for a change. And Lamar Jackson came in, and he changed the way Ravens offense works and runs.
Yes, that he revolutionized. He basically brought back the 30s. So yeah, do you want to point out anyone else? Because that's perfect on the list.
Nah, I think I gave my opinion, and then you said Wilson over Jackson. Well, Wilson definitely played really well this season. I
I
remember
would say
when we went into Seattle, I was a little nervous that was going to be the Ravens' loss, but Marcus Peters came in clutch, and luckily Metcalf, he had some butterfingers. He was fumbling the ball.
overrated. Still overrated. I would like to say that the NFL Top 100 nailed it with Tyler Lockett at 65.
At 65, okay.
Tyler Lockett is a great receiver. He's so underrated. And honestly, I was surprised to see him that high, but getting the recognition he deserves is what I wanted to see. Tyler Lockett is Russell Wilson's number one weapon, maybe one of his few, one or two weapons. He has Chris Carson, but that's about it. The offensive line is abysmal. But Tyler Lockett deserves a slot, and I love the way he plays and the energy he brings to the Seahawks. So yeah, I think that'll basically wrap it up for this first episode of the Huddle, which we came up with the name yesterday, actually, the day before we were supposed to record this.
That's right. We're on top of it. No procrastination at all.
We And again, I'm Philip Zhao. I'm the host along with my other host, Eric Ye, and this is the Huddle podcast. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.